How are you folks? Please let us know by putting an emoji or a GIF in the comments of this live stream. If you're coming back later on and you're watching the replay, we would love to know. So type the words in replay. And if all of you get to the very end of this, we would love to know what your biggest takeaway from this session is. Today, we want to learn how to be happy and healthy and productive and all of that good stuff whilst working from home. And let's face it, I hate to say it, but in these times and with the new normal and all the other buzz phrases that you'll have heard over the last few weeks and months, things have changed for everybody, and a lot of us are being forced to work from home. For me, selfishly, I'm excited for this. I've got a team where we've all physically worked in an office environment for many months and years, and now we're all being forced to work from home, and we're finding it difficult. And we would love to meet the folks from Big Orange Heart, that's Michelle and Dan, and really just pick their brains. Big Orange Heart is a charity that supports remote workers with their mental health and well-being all around the world, so who better than to ask? So before we dive in with all the questions that we've got prepared, what would be fantastic is for us to go around the room and do our little 30-second intro. So you all know me, I'm Lee, Agency Trailblazer Podcast. Michelle, let's learn a little bit about you.
So I'm Michelle Frechette. I'm in Rochester, New York, and it's very cold here this time of year. My full-time job, I am the head of customer success for GiveWP. And aside from that, I volunteer at Big Orange Heart. I'm doing a lot with Wordfest, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. And I do a lot with the WordPress project as far as marketing, WordCamps, etc. So I just love this community and love every opportunity I have to give back.
Fantastic. Dan.
Excellent, thank you. Really excited to be here again with you. I'm Dan Maby. I'm based just outside of London. I'm the founder of Big Orange Heart, which, as Lee mentioned, is a registered charity. Our mission is to support and promote positive well-being and mental health within the remote working communities. I also run a digital agency, have done for many years, focusing predominantly within the WordPress space, and generally keep myself busy across the WordPress community.
Peacher.
Yes, I work with Cloudways as a Maverick, just like you, Lee, and also talk a lot about UX.
Absolutely. So, folks, what we're going to do today is we've got a whole lot of questions ready. Also, Peacher always forgets to mention Design for Geeks. You can check her out, designforgeeks.com. You always forget to mention it.
I know.
So I'll promote you.
I'm really good at self-promotion, obviously.
So I'll promote you. Folks, we're now going to hit our guys here with questions. What I would encourage you to do as well is if you've got any questions or you'd like to add any points or any ideas to what we have ready, then please do so. This will be a brainstorming session for us all. So, Peacher, I know you've got our first question lined up. Are you on mute? You're on mute, Peacher. Now you're back.
Yeah, sorry.
Because tech. There we go.
I'm slightly challenged today. Yes, my question is, because I work alone, I mean, I am blessed with wonderful colleagues, of which you are one, Lee. And actually, I'm hardly ever alone in the real sense, because there's always a meeting. In fact, almost many meetings sometimes, as you were describing to us earlier, Michelle. But I am physically alone. I am alone. And obviously, over the past 15 years is what it feels like. But in fact, it's been 6 months. It has been harder. I have found it harder, to the point where I've actually gone against the trend, and I found myself a shop to work from, because at least I leave the house. So that's been one of my coping strategies, because otherwise I'm speaking for myself, but I'm interpreting, if you live on your own and you also then work on your own in the same space where you live, and you're not really allowed to leave that space or do the things that you do normally, such as seeing your friends for dinner, going to a yoga class, going skating with a big group of people, all these things that normally punctuate your life. Being on your own the entire time can really, 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 really wear you down. So that's, I think, that the first thing, very selfishly, that I'd love to discuss. I mean, I have kind of answered myself as I was asking the question, because I really came to the point a while ago where I was thinking, this can't go on. I can't go on like this. Also, the house gets incredibly messy. I am blessed with a lovely place, but I didn't love it anymore. It was just my prison. So that's what I did. I thought, okay, well, because I do these webinars all the time and things like this, I can't do a co-working space because I haven't thought about my type of worker yet. So they're all open plan. I can't do that. So I got myself a lovely shop and I'm on my own here, but I have shops next door and it's great because there's already a feeling of community for me. So I'm looking forward to this. And if they should lock us down properly, I am allowed to come here because I'm on my own here, so I don't present a risk to anyone. What else can we do if people are not as lucky as I am? If you can't find the right space or it's not available to you for any reason, what else can we do to escape our own selves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many issues across this, isn't there? I mean, we're all going through different experiences across this. Yeah, we're currently in different locations globally, and those different locations have different restrictions. And that issue of certainly from my perspective here in the UK, we've gone through a couple of different lockdowns, and they've had very different feels about them, and they've had very different different rules and restrictions applied to them, and it's just created this really hard environment that we need to try and work with and trying to connect with people. I think, Pisha, the word that really struck me as you were talking there was community. And this is really, a lot of what we do within Big Orange Heart and across the charity really hinges on community and hinges on that connection. We've lost that in-person connection right now. And for so many of us, it's difficult to continue to have that sense of connection and community. So trying to find ways to sustain that, to maybe build that in new ways and build that in different ways is work that we're having to undertake. And looking for ways to connect with people. It's so difficult. I mean, I'm not, because we've all been doing that for months now, and that's hard. Even though we may be sitting having these types of conversations day in, day out, we're still losing that in person, that physical connection, which we're meant to, as humans, we're meant to have that connection. We're meant to be around other people. We are ultimately pack animals, and being around other people is, it's built into us. So I'm not going to sit here and say I have some magical answer, because I don't. There's a lot here that we can do. There's a lot of things that we can do to support ourselves. And one thing really is looking for our wins and looking for. It's so easy at the moment to overlook the wins that we have in our day-to-day life, because everything's changed in so many ways. And even though I've been a remote worker for many, many years, so when this started out, I was okay, nothing's really changed for me. Welcome to my world. This is how I work.
Exactly the same. I actually even felt like finally I'm not alone. Finally, there's loads of people. But that's. Yeah. We've gone beyond our working environment, haven't we? We've gone beyond that, and that's where this really is, I think, much, much more challenging for us. So on a personal note, I have to look for those wins in my day, and they can be literally as small as make a bed, get up, have a shower, because some days it can be really challenging. It can be really it can be really difficult to actually motivate yourself, and if you're continually not seeing wins, then you are going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to spiral downwards, because we need that win. We need that sense of accomplishment in our day.
One of the things
Absolutely.
that and like you, Pisha, I live alone. And so living alone, working alone, I mean, you see Amy walking around behind me. I'm actually in an office now because we're not in lockdown, but we're heading there again here in my area. Certain towns adjacent to mine are in lockdown right now. So we're getting very close to that. But for me, when we were in lockdown and I was working from a 1-bedroom apartment, and at one end of my living room, I had my office set up. So literally couldn't leave work. It was right there. I found that setting certain goals during the day was what was important to me. So I didn't go to work in my pajamas, even though I certainly could have. I didn't, I got up, I didn't always make the bed, Dan, but that is a goal. But I would put on work clothes, and I would set a timer so that I knew when lunch was, because it's too easy to just kind of let the morning blend into the afternoon, blend into the evening. And so I made myself, even if I didn't have anything to do at lunchtime, go to the sofa, sit down with my cat, do a puzzle, do those kinds of things to kind of just break that cycle of what was in my head, so that I'd have something that was breaking up the day and giving me the next thing to do, as opposed to just kind of letting it all overtake. And the other thing that was super important to me, because when I work elsewhere, I don't open my blinds at home, because I leave in the morning, I come back and it's dark. But during the day, when I was working at home, I made a very good point to open the windows and open the blinds, because the sunshine and the natural light was so important when I wasn't getting out of the house.
I'm guilty of walking into my daughter's bedroom every single morning because she sits there with her phone and her curtains shut, and I go, photosynthesize, damn it, and draw the
Exactly.
curtain.
Oh my God, I bet she loves that.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
I would have hated that.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's a father's job. Now, this question I'm personally interested in, because we are stuck at home. I struggle with the concept of escaping work. So right now, this office is at the back of our house, and the kitchen is behind that door. And it's very easy for me to do two things. Number one, my work day blends into no break at all, which you described about getting away from your desk and sitting down at the sofa, etc. That's fantastic. But equally, I struggle to let go of what's gone on in the day, because I don't feel like I've left. It's still here at the back of my mind. And also weekends are a struggle as well. There is a temptation to to come into this room on a Saturday morning and check email or just do a few things. I've been able to not do that, because my wife's, I'm accountable to my wife, and I'm more scared of her than I am my clients. But I know a lot of people are struggling with that. So anyone want to throw in some ways of breaks during the day, switching off, and also being able to switch off at night and at weekends?
And maybe even take a holiday, because I have definitely not taken a holiday this year, because it just seems like time is suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly for myself, it's been very much about looking for activities that are non-digitally related, and making sure, getting back into that tangible world, because we spend so much of it in front of these screens, in front of these cameras, and so much of that is intangible. And I've got a deep joy in woodworking, and that, for me, I've gone back to that. I mean, that's something that I really let go of over the years, and I've gotten back into that. And I had a really interesting experience actually this weekend just gone. I said to myself, this weekend I am not going to be I'm not going to be touching digital. I'm not going to go checking the Slack communities. I'm not going to be checking, just it's switched off, and that's it. I spent that time, doing stuff, away from the computers, and work, doing some woodworking projects, etc. Yesterday, I came back and I actually said to Michelle, I feel like I'm, trying to catch up with myself all day long. I felt like I'd had a couple of weeks off, and I come, that feeling of you've had some time away and you need to.
That sounds amazing. I want that.
But it was really weird. It wasn't until I said to my wife in the evening that I was having this experience. She said, well, you did take some time off over the weekend, and it's the first time you've done that properly in a long time. And it was a really odd sensation, actually, that I connected the dots. Actually, yes, I had taken some time away, and it was away from that digital space that is my work environment.
Hold me accountable to calligraphy at the weekend then. So I've got to do some calligraphy. I've got my kit already. I just haven't done that sort of thing for ages. Carry on,
We
Michelle,
need to see your calligraphy as well, Lee. You stop being
Far too
coy
shy.
about it.
Far too
We
shy.
need. I'll set up your Instagram if you don't. So
I was going to say too, though, that like Dan shepherds a community. When you are shepherding a community like that, you feel like you have to be checking in. You feel that responsibility to it. So for Dan to be able to trust that the rest of us in the community can respond and help one another and be able to take that time away, I understand the anxiety around that, absolutely. But I also appreciate the fact that he was able to do that and have some time for him and his family.
Oh, that is awesome.
I mean, the team of volunteers behind Big Orange Heart are just an incredible team of individuals, and I just want to say a big personal thank you to each and every single one of them, because it really is quite incredible what is being accomplished across there. But Lee, I also just wanted to quickly mention, you touched on something there that's incredibly important across this, and I should have mentioned in the first question, actually, it's accountability and accountability partners, and actually having an accountability partner across this is something we are strong advocates for, because it works both ways when you start to build up that relationship with an accountability partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of need an accountability partner to help me keep track of all the accountability partners that I have. Just because I've already had a few, and it was like, quick, more, I need more.
If you're looking for accountability, guys, little tip there, bigorangeheart.org/join, I believe, is the URL from memory, and you can join the group in there. So what we're going to do, folks, we do have some more questions lined up, but there's two things. First of all, we would just very quickly like to mention the Black Friday deal. You can find out all about that over on bit.ly/Golf Echo Golf -2020. Easy to remember, but we will also pop that in the comments. And just as importantly, I would love to hear from yourself, Dan, all about the brand new Wordfest that's coming up in January of this year. So tell us all about that. And folks, you can check out the website on wordfest.live.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a really incredible journey again. Wordfest Live 2021. It's the first Wordfest Live that we've delivered. It's a 24-hour Festival of WordPress. So we are going to be traveling the globe. We are starting off over in Oceania. We're then moving across to Asia, then into the EMEA, and then ending up over in the Americas. We're going to spend 6 hours in each region over that 24-hour period. We have got some incredible speakers coming up. We've just closed our call for speakers, and Michelle has very, very, very kindly been dedicating a huge amount of time to manage the speaker process for us. And I think I can speak when I say I'm incredibly excited about some of the announcements that we've got coming up in terms of the speakers. We made our first announcement yesterday on wordfest.live/speakers. It is an entirely free event. There is an optional donation, which will go, all funds raised will be going directly into Big Orange Heart. It's just a time for us as a community to come together and celebrate. We appreciate it's been a very, very difficult year for many, many, many people. So we just wanted to create something to look forward to and to be excited about. So
that's great as well that it supports Big Orange Heart, which is fantastic. So, folks, that's wordfest.live. You can go ahead and register, get involved, follow socials, all of that sort of stuff, because we all want to be a part of community, and we also want to be able to support Big Orange Heart. That's wordfest.live. Now, Peach, I believe you have our next question lined up for the day.
Yeah, so I'm not quite an employer, but I'm leading teams, and sometimes it's difficult to keep supporting and motivating them, especially when you're the one that needs their support and motivation, because I think that remote work is amazing, and I've been doing it for years, but this is the first year that actually, also because of working with Cloudways, I've been leading a team across 5 continents. 5? I didn't count, but anyway, definitely many countries, and even in very different time zones as well. And it's not always easy, I have to say. And even though everybody else is amazing, and I mean, their dedication is incredible. I've had people getting up, you're like, what time is it where you are? And it's like, yeah, it's 11 in the evening. And you go, wow, I mean, that's way past my bedtime. So incredible dedication on the part of everyone, but it has been tough sometimes to keep the motivation, because I find that video meetings are way harder than in-person meetings. And I think it's because we feel we're performing a bit because we're looking at a camera. The way I've dealt with it a little bit has been that instead of having meetings for the team, I would call it work hours. So there was an agenda, we had tasks, we had something to accomplish. We knew that by the time of that work session, we had to have finished a task, completed a task. And that really helped, because at the end, you haven't had just an exhausting meeting. You've actually ticked something else off your list. But there still were times when I was really, and I still am really struggling to fit the remote work with other people in with everything else. So how do we motivate our teams?
One of the things that I lead a team, the customer success team for GiveWP, and when we all actually physically work in this space, except when we're in lockdown, of course. And so when we were in lockdown, every single day I posted in our channel, in our Slack, how's everybody doing? What do you need to feel supported today? And followed it up with a fun question, so that if they didn't need anything, it was another way to engage and another way to kind of have that camaraderie. And then across the organization as a whole, we do fun things within our Slack channel. So at least once a week, I post what we call the Slack Status Challenge. And we have to I post a theme, and you have to set your Slack status, something in the theme, but work related. So for example, maybe I would say, Halloween themed. So you have to something that has to do with slasher movies or something, but it also has to fit with work. And so you replace a word necessarily. So Silence of the Lambs could have been Silence of the Queue, because we're all in the queue all day and every day. And so then we all have to post that and share that. And sometimes people tweet them, but it's a way for an organization that is literally all over the world to come together and have some fun around the water cooler, if you will, so that we still have those events, so we still have that community building within our organization. We still have fun with one another. Instead of only being always, in the queue, we can actually get to know each other a little bit better too. And that's one way that we work together to make sure that we're cohesive as a team, but we're also moving forward as a company.
I think that that sounds great. That sounds like real fun, because I'm sure that people feel competitive about actually getting the funniest one out. I know that Automatic do a connection month, I know from automaticians, so that they actually go beyond just the work hours, I think, so that and they connect and they do things together, and there's lots of games. So I suppose that games, I need to learn how to do games as well.
One thing
Gamify.
Yeah, gamify. Yeah, one thing we do is a virtual office hour. So we'll all jump in Zoom, and we're not necessarily talking to each other, but we can hear each other typing, and you can really hear me type when I type, because I've got a gamer's keyboard. It's it's proper mechanical, and I have to press mute if I'm sharing a post or something. Yeah, exactly. But you can hear me, we can hear each other, but I can see everyone on the screen, and now and again you can just like waggle your eyebrows at each other, or tell a joke, or go, hey Larissa, do you remember if such and such has replied to that email, or whatever it is, the sorts of stuff that we used to do when we were physically in the office together, and one of us would call out across the room, and just being able to hear like each other, like and hear our families in the background, knowing that we're just all together is kind of a nice feeling. And we've done it where we've hardly said a thing to each other all hour, which is fine. We just know we're together, so we're all working, but we know we're all there together, if that makes sense, because that's something we really do miss from being physically together. How about you, Dan? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, having that, if we were office based, that environment of we would process so much without us even realizing it in that office space. Whether you've got a colleague sitting opposite next to you, just chatting or talking through things that you needed to process mentally, which has suddenly been taken away. Because suddenly you're sitting in a space with nobody around you potentially, and how do you then process those thoughts? How do you deal with those? So again, we recommend these kinds of office hours, on a regular basis. Have an opportunity for the team to come together, even if you're not specifically talking about anything, just simply having a colleague. And we've got freelancers within our community that do the same thing. A number of freelancers that come together. To have just that video call sitting there, so there are people to interact with. That, as you're saying, that kind of thought process when has such email been done, or that you verbalize things often without even realizing, that really help you really process those things, process the things within your brain. But I think that that water cooler chat, creating that space for it is so important for teams, because within a remote environment, you can't have that physical, wander into the kitchen to grab a coffee and have a 2-minute conversation. So looking for ways to develop that is is highly important within our remote teams.
I do miss walking in and getting a coffee. And but I'm going to pick on you, Michelle, for this next question.
Okay.
So there's a pending vaccine. That's super exciting. And there's more than likely going to be a return to work for everyone in 2021. So where you are at now, you mentioned you're probably going to go into yet another lockdown. So you'll be working together virtually for some time, but then hopefully eventually we will get back to normal and that office will be busy and vibrant throughout 2021. And I guess you can, because you've had lockdown there as well prior and then all been reunited. So based on that experience and with life being kind of different in the future post-vaccine, where do you see there might be some changes in the working environment, either relationally or physically, or just kind of what would you predict for 2021 for agencies and for your own company there?
I think people will start wearing pants again. So I think we'll see.
You have literally been waiting this whole session to tell that joke, haven't you?
Perhaps. I'm not a dad, and I have the most dad
brilliant
jokes.
I love
Thank
it.
You. One of the things that I think is I've heard so much this year is I miss WordCamps, I miss conferences, and as we start to transition back to having those, I honestly think we're going to start to hear things like, I miss the virtual events. Because when I do go to a local event or we're here in the office, we no longer are talking to those people that we've made friends with globally. Because of the pandemic that we've experienced this year, I have made friends literally globally. I've been on more podcasts. I've been on more events. I've done all of these things that I might not have had an opportunity to do otherwise. And having that scaled back will feel almost as odd as having scaled back, in-person events this year. And so I think that, once we're back to our normal lives, whatever normal becomes, as I think you called the new normal. I don't think I've heard that at all this year.
They're saying it all over the news.
Oh, okay.
It's really annoying. The new normal.
The new normal.
These times is another one. Sorry, Karen.
Unprecedented times, I believe.
Unprecedented, that's right.
There you go. But I think it will be something that we have to get used to again. Sharing coffee, sharing space. When I am working from home, we're not worried about talking over each other because we are 4 people in an office here who are often doing demos and on calls. And so, like right now, I'm probably being too loud. Amy took her computer upstairs.
Yeah, we did see.
For her demo.
Stomped upstairs. I saw that.
I know she's just like that. But so when you're home and when you're working in your own space, if you talk loudly, it's not a problem. So you do have to kind of figure out what that feels like to be in the same space again. And it's a good problem to have for sure, but there is going to be a transition for us all again.
Yeah,
and wear pants.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of the events specifically. I mean, we run the WordPress London meetup as well, and it's been an incredible experience actually. On a positive side, this because we've seen an enormous adoption of an international audience. We've now got members across 96 different territories that regularly attend within our events, and that's phenomenal. And we start our event in at 6 p.m. UK time, and we often go on until 3 a.m. the following day because we've got people across multiple time zones, and it's just that is a real joy. But I think within our industry, we've brick and mortar shops, there's been some big challenges for many years. I mean, this I think there has been a lot of brick and mortar industry shops that have been heavily impacted financially, and the adoption of e-commerce has been obviously widely taken up through this period. But what's that going to look like post this? Post sort of once we're into a vaccine era, how can we as an industry better support the e-commerce side of this and better support those brick and mortar shops?
Absolutely.
Now, I think everybody needs to see Mark Davis's comment.
Are you?
Oops. Sorry, I got. Sorry, yes, I was looking at Matt Davis's comment, but I pasted the wrong thing, Lee. So ignore that. But he's saying, I've really enjoyed PJs as workwear, loungewear, and nightwear. Probably would wear them to a wedding at this point. So true.
There we go. I found
there
it for
you go. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, Matt, I think I have to say that's one of the things that are great at the moment, because I am actually it doesn't mean that I can't get to this shop in my yoga pants, but I do sometimes wear clothes. It's amazing. So I think, what you were saying about the brick and mortar businesses is so important. I think here in Spain where I live, they're holding out a bit longer not to completely hound them into the ground. That's why they're doing that. So that's why I think the rest of the population is being super careful, but we are all still patronizing shops because I don't want for the economy to tank. I really don't. But I think that another thing that's come up, and I think I am the case of that, is what to do, where to go for support when you're lonely, because being a business owner is already lonely. And in this situation has been even lonelier. I'll give you an example. I usually have a really lovely social life, but we're just not doing it. We can here in Valencia specifically, because other parts of Spain have much tighter restrictions. But here, out of all, it's not like it's good, it's not, but out of all of the rest of the country, I am actually in the safest place. But we're still being super, super careful. So people will just not meet. A friend said, come to dinner on Thursday, be just 4 of us, and we can sit 2 meters apart. And I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah, I get anxiety when people invite me to things now.
Well, it's just because I know her really well, and I know that she's unbelievably careful. And so I feel that, it's safe otherwise. And also it's like 4 people, which is actually allowed. Otherwise we wouldn't do it. But it can get really, really lonely. And that's why I really, if any of you is in any way able, my way around it is to get the shop. But I'll give you an example of small changes that are making my day at the moment. I'm between a bike shop, which is great, and a cafe. And the barman in the cafe is Italian. I've been here 2 weeks. By the second day, this guy, when I arrive on my bicycle, I open, come in, drop the computer. By the time I've done these things, he's already there with my cappuccino. I could cry. So I guess that my suggestion to fight loneliness is this: if you in any way can, I know that in many places it's not allowed, so I don't want for people to curse at me going, I would do it if I could. But if you can, I could have carried on working from home, and I decided to take this step, which has not been easy in certain ways, but in others, it completely just improved my life so much more. Even just this small interaction with someone who was a stranger, and now every morning he brings me my coffee. So absolutely. Yeah. But what else can we do?
So within Big Orange Heart, this is obviously something that we try to tackle head on a regular basis. We run what we call life groups within them, and these life groups are very small, intimate groups that are intended to for the members to build a strong bond, a strong relationship, trusted relationship within. And it's really about having that ability to discuss things openly in a safe environment. So if people are sitting there and thinking they're not able to get out and they're not able to get into a working environment that takes them away from their home or apartments, then connecting with others and being able to have those conversations and being able to have those honest and frank conversations about some of the challenges they're facing around work specifically. I'm not necessarily talking about being open about your mental health within these groups. This is about some of the challenges that you're facing on a day-to-day basis in relation to your work environment, because so many of us are in very, very similar situations, but equally very different situations. So having that ability to discuss them and tap into different experiences is really, really important. So these life groups are a really good way for people to be able to do that. If anybody is listening and interested, then I think you had it at bigorangeheart.org/join.
They're the best. Ask me about life groups, and I can tell you they are life savers. They always come up when we. It's just amazing. I'm saying hi to all my life group chums because they are life savers. They really are. And also we help each other out from a business point of view so much. I mean, just this Monday, I mean, isn't time a really weird notion at the moment? I think it was Monday last week. Anyway, it doesn't matter when. I had like a Slack conversation with Tim Nash, who just helped me out hugely with the business situation because he had the experience. He had the relevant experience and he was there and he helped me with it. And it was one of those moments that are life-changing in the sense of that chunk of my life, but it was essential, absolutely crucial help at exactly the right time, and it was on a business issue. So I cannot overestimate the importance of the work that Big Orange Heart is doing, not just in terms of mental health, but in terms of creating a tool that will help your business in more ways than as well as your sanity. Because also the warmth of these groups is amazing, and the wealth of knowledge that is in there is extraordinary, and everybody is there with a sort of common vision somehow, and therefore for a fact that apart from it being a safe space, you will never be judged and you will be helped, and that's incredible for me. I'll shut up now. It's just my usual Big Orange Heart rant.
I think that some money's changed hands here. That was a very gushing testimonial. That was.
I think we collectively you've all got communities that you run. I mean, Michelle gives the agency transformation design for geeks, and within these communities, it's about bringing like-minded individuals together, and they're the fact that we've got 4 people here in 4 different communities that just go to show that,
but it's hard though, and I think that one thing that you've done really in an amazing way, Dan, and I struggle to do because lately I actually abandoned my community a bit. I got back to it now, but I was overwhelmed. I just didn't have the bandwidth for it, and I felt really guilty about abandoning it. But it was just too much. And what you've done incredibly well is you've delegated, you've created other leaders, and you've created pods, and that's something that you've done so well, Dan. Hats off to you for that. And that's actually what I've realized I need to do, because I cannot do everything myself. That, I think, Lee, I'm sure that you agree with that. If you're a business owner but you're a small business and I never want to become particularly big, but I just want to do what I like. That's why I'm here. But it's so easy to just slip into doing everything yourself. And I think, Lee, you're much better than me at that because you've set up an agency, so you've already got. But for me, because I've always been very much of a loner in a way, so I just like being by myself, so ending up doing everything yourself is normal for me. It doesn't occur to me that somebody else could do something. And that's what I'm learning from all of you guys, but from you, Dan, how big that community has become because you were able to delegate and to let it grow. So I need to learn how to do that, actually. Sorry,
that does go towards helping your question there as well on loneliness, doesn't it? Is how can you actually get other people involved as well? Speaking of other, carry on, Michelle.
No, I just want to respond to this question too. So as somebody who lives alone, who was working alone, one of the things I've realized is that, I was an agency owner before I joined Give WP. I've been a community leader, things like that, is I put unrealistic expectations on myself to not experience, or at least publicly acknowledge, some of the emotions and the things that I go through. And so I definitely feel loneliness. I feel anxiety. I feel depression. I do all those things that I think every person on the planet has at some level experienced those things. And so one of the things that I do that actually helps me through it is, if I need to cry, I cry. I acknowledge my emotions. I acknowledge, if I'm lonely, I walk into my living room and I tell my cats, I'm so freaking lonely today. And I say it out loud just to acknowledge it, because once it's out, then I don't feel it as deeply, because I've acknowledged it and I've put it out into the world, so to speak. It's not that suddenly I have company joining me, but acknowledging your emotions is one way that you can at least move forward through them. And so I don't know if it works for everybody, but that is one of my coping mechanisms, is just, if I have to have a cry, I have a cry and let it out, because once it's out, then it feels so much better.
Has the cat ever answered?
I did have a cat once who sang along with me, but she only knew the one word.
Oh. What, meow?
That would be the word, yes. No, it was Frank. She just kept saying Frank.
Oh. She's going to be frank with you.
Actually saying the word.
Just meow. No, she just said meow.
Okay. I was hoping for a minute.
I know. That would be something.
That would be.
Yeah.
Now, Jan can't be with us today, unfortunately, but he did want to ask this particular question. So when we're in a home environment, I've mentioned that I'm right at the back of our house here, and I can shut the door, which is quite rare. In our old house, I used to be in the bedroom, and the bedroom was the thoroughfare of the entire house. So my desk was shoved in the corner. My wife would be in and out. The phone would be in the bedroom as well. We had like just a 2-floor flat. It was just hard to escape the family. In lockdown, especially now here in the UK, we're not really allowed out anywhere particularly, so offices are off limits, etc. So have you any ideas and tips on how we can facilitate a better work-life balance when the family are around, when it's really easy for my wife to stick her head in and ask me a question, or it's really easy for me to escape my work and go and start to do something in the house instead of working, etc. Any tips on managing all of that? Because I am envious of Michelle right now, and also her colleague who was able to walk up those stairs and go into a different room, because you just kind of can't escape when you're at home. Long question, I know, but any takers?
Sure. I think the a starting point across this is simply defining our hours. It's quite easy to say these things, and I appreciate if we've got children around, children will not respect those defined hours, but certainly we can respect those defined hours. And we also need to question ourselves, and if we have the ability to, I appreciate this doesn't apply to everybody, but if we have the ability to look at when are we most productive, and actually, if your kids get up and they're quite quiet in the morning, they're kind of slow risers, then you find that you're more productive in the morning, then you use that time wisely. If your kids get up and they're instantly switched on and they just go the moment they get up, maybe they're slower come the evening. So maybe that's an opportunity for you to be more productive at that time. So looking and working, how can we be more flexible with the environment that we've got, which I appreciate not everybody has the privilege of being able to do that. So simply be able to define hours and having honest conversations with other people in the household. If they have the ability to to sit down. I appreciate some younger children simply won't even listen to the idea of, no, I'm working right now. But if you can sit down and have that conversation with housemates, with partners, and say, look, this is my work environment, and I need to be able to have that time. And if it's so easy for people just to simply wander into that space and start talking away to you, and not realizing that you're in the middle of something, you're concentrating on something, and suddenly you being disrupted from that workflow, it's going to take you 15 minutes to get back into that flow. So having those conversations and say, look, can we please just respect the fact that this period of time is work. There's no easy answer to any of this. If we're working in our home environments, particularly if we're in an environment where we don't have the luxury of shutting a door and here's my work environment, and outside the other side of that door is my home environment. As Michelle was talking about earlier, that home and office becomes very, very blended for some people.
I have friends who actually went to work in the car quite a few times because it was the only way they could get work done. That is definitely an advantage that you have if you live on your own. That is for sure. Made things easier for sure.
Nathan Wrigley and I were joking around the idea of doing podcasts from the car because they are pretty much soundproof. From the
best acoustics. Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I do all my singing.
I do all mine in the bath because for some reason I sound like an opera singer in the bathroom. So
I don't think my neighbors would appreciate that.
I think there is an element of that self-reflection, isn't there? Looking at ourselves and saying, look, I know for myself that there are certain hours in the day where I'm just not productive. I just simply, I don't achieve much. So I tend to try and use those times to do other things, maybe walk the dog or get that physical exercise, and that getting away from that environment is so important if you have the ability to. I know some areas aren't dependent on the level of restrictions that are upon us at the moment, but for me that time to go out and walk the dog, clear my head, get away from the office is incredibly important.
One thing that's helped our team has been to so we do like a little stand-up meeting at the beginning every day, and we understand what we're all achieving. So we're therefore not saying, right, you work 9 to 5. We still end up probably working 9 to 5 because we get busy, but we all understand what we need to achieve for the day. So if my wife says, Lee, because she has access to my calendar as well, she knows when I've got a space in my calendar. She didn't take advantage of it, thankfully, but she'll know that I'm not on calls for a few hours. And if she needs me to watch the little one and have him strapped to my chest for half an hour, which Michelle actually joined this call and he was strapped to my chest, I know I can do that because I've finished most of the stuff I had to do for the day. I had the capacity to also have my little son strapped to my chest and just do a little bit of work at the same time. So it can go both ways. There is that flexibility of, as long as you know what you're achieving for that day, you can actually make some informed decisions and go, I'm going to take 30 minutes out and take the kids for a walk because I think they're about to explode and I'm not going to get any work done until they've all gone and run it off. So let's go out for 30 minutes now instead of, so you can be just as flexible those ways as well.
One of the things that I realize I'm not working with the family at home, but one of the things that I've done is get back to some hobbies that I had before. And Pisha and I actually have a similar hobby with I call it doodling. I don't know what you call it, but and Zentangles. And then the other thing is finding new hobbies. So for example, I wasn't spending money getting my nails done. I wasn't spending money going out to lunch and dinner. Not that I am rolling in dough, but I also decided I could invest in a few things for myself. And one of those was Legos. So I started ordering a Lego kit a month and doing big Lego things. If you're interested, you can go to Twitter and do #MichelleBuildsLegos, and you'll see some of the projects I've put together. Because they're fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're so much
Lego.
fun. And I never did them as a child. And here I am at 52 years old this year, building Lego for the first time. So finding something that you can do. And that's, things like puzzles, Legos, drawing, arts and crafts. Those are things you can do as a family as well. So you can concentrate on new hobbies together, or if you're alone like I, or pulling out those things that you haven't done in a while, like your pens and your ink and your stitching and whatever else, knitting or whatever it is that you do, and finding ways as a family to do those or individually to kind of break from work but still do something that's stimulating and enjoyable for yourself.
Yeah, we actually put a 5,000 piece puzzle on our dining room table, and just every now and again, each time we walk past it, just a few minutes away from that work environment, away from the digital screens again, and the sense of accomplishment at the end of that.
I can't actually picture a 5,000 piece puzzle. My brain has just imploded.
Yeah, it was
that's a lot.
Destroying that once we completed it.
I want to see pictures.
There are pictures.
Wait, Peach sharing. Peach, shall I put your screen on? Is that what you want me to do there? You're on mute. I think Peach is. Yeah, cool. Peach wants to share images. Right. We're now Twitter stalking you. Look
Love
at
it.
that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. That was the new one. That was the latest build. I have two more that are still in the box, but this was the latest one, which is the Lego newest one, which is their gingerbread house, and I had a lot of fun putting that together.
Oh,
The
so
snowblower. Look how adorable that snowblower is.
Absolutely. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I highly recommend Legos as well, to be honest. And big shout out to Nicole Osborne, who sent us a Lego calendar, an advent calendar the other day with little pieces in so you can build things over the course of Christmas. So that's really cool.
That's so cool.
But yeah. Well, folks, we've had a really great time. I just want to share with you a couple of takeaways. And what I'd encourage you guys to do as well is share with us what your takeaways have been from this conversation. One of the things that really surprised me that I was not expecting was Michelle saying that we will be saying we miss the virtual when we're back to the physical. Now, right now, I'm saying I miss physical meetups and all that sort of stuff. And I can be naturally negative towards what's going on right now, but actually Michelle flipped that whole script for me. And right now I know I can go to Wordfest in January the 22nd, I believe the date is, and meet new people from all around the world and talk with people that I probably would not talk with, either because I physically can never ever be in the same room with them, or when I'm in the room with them, I'm too nervous because I am that sort of guy. I don't wander up to anybody and go and chat to them, whereas it's very, very easy to do that in a digital environment. So yeah, I was quite taken by that. And then Dan also was then sharing just about creating those rules with your family, as it were, or having that conversation. And there was a few jokes as well going on in the chat. We could see you all about mutual yelling at each other, etc. But actually having that conversation and having those set working times and saying, all right, so from this time to this time, this is going to be this is work time, just as if I've left the building for the day and I've gone to my physical office location. I loved what Peter was saying as well about hiding away in the car, etc. But just having those open conversations and with each other, rather than just trying to get the work done, because those interruptions are, well, for me, are toxic. If someone pops in and asks me a question and I'm halfway through coding or I'm halfway through writing something, I just cannot get into it. So having those conversations, I'm lucky enough to have a door, so it's pretty much a conversation we don't need. If the door's shut, don't come in. But I know for many people in most environments, that's not the case. Equally, I would caveat that with know what you're doing. That's the point that I raised earlier. Know what you're doing in the day so that you can be flexible as well. So that when other people in your home do need a little bit of support, then go ahead and get some support. We recommended as well that you folks check out Wordfest. Wordfest is happening 22nd of January. That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
From memory, I'm good at numbers. So there you go. So you can check that out over on wordfest.live. If you want to check out the deals as well that are available for Cloudways, bit.ly GEG-2020. Also, just a little bit of self-promo. We did an episode just this week all about this very subject. It's episode 293. I mentioned that we're a physical office environment, and we really, really miss it. So we've put a whole load of things in place to help us work, and we do give Big Orange Heart a big, massive shout out as well during that episode. So I'd highly recommend that you check that out. And finally, please, folks, do go ahead and check out bigorangeheart.org/join and join that community. Check out those life groups and all of the amazing things that they do. So folks, why don't we go around the room and find out how we can connect with each and every one of us, and then we shall bid everyone adieu. Shall we start with Michelle? How can we connect with you?
The best place to find me is on Twitter. My DMs are always open, and I'm at Michelle Ames there. You can see my Legos and other crazy ramblings that I have there. The other thing, if I could just take a quick second and say, if you do go to bigorangeheart.org right now and make a donation, you also will receive a free copy of my book, which is called, it's unfortunate, the title, but it's called A Good Firm Handshake. And other essential business tips. Digital handshakes are fine, but making any donation right now at bigorangeheart.org/donate gets you a free digital copy of my book, and supports the charity.
Awesome. So it'd be the COVID bump now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's the elbow bump.
Yeah,
I'm gonna rewrite it with a new title. It just says like Bow and Whisper or something. I don't know.
Peacher, promote that group. How can people connect with you?
You can connect with me by finding me on LinkedIn, because I do like LinkedIn now, but also and all you need is to know how to spell my name. And then the Design for Geeks group, which I am back into. And in fact, I'm accepting applications for anyone who would like to help me run that community. And that's something I'm taking away from this session. You don't have to do it on your own. You need to learn that one. And also the Design for Geeks website as well, designforgeeks.com. So that's me for now.
Awesome. Folks, you can connect with me over on agencytrailblazer.com. That's the podcast, and you can see the Facebook group. Dan, how can people connect with you, buddy?
Best place is across Big Orange Heart. As you mentioned, bigorangeheart.org/join. To connect with me personally, pretty much anything /Dan Maby. That's MABY. You will be able to, as I say, DMs are open across multiple channels.
It's really annoying that all three of you have got names that just work for social media. Like Lee Jackson is the most common name ever. There's a Lee Jackson author, there's a Lee Jackson antiques, there's a Lee Jackson maps, there's a Lee Jackson who plays rugby. There's so many Lee Jacksons, I just cannot own anything with my name in it.
Although, may I just say that on the other hand, the flip side of the coin is that I can't hide.
Oh yeah.
if I want to, disappear from someone's life, it's very hard, because anybody could find me like that. There's only one in the world.
Such a unique name. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for your time, everyone. It's been fantastic. Remember, folks, bigorangeheart.org/join. And also, if you want to get a new appreciation for virtual and digital events that Michelle highlighted for us, then, of course, check out wordfest.live. And finally, if you want to grab yourself that Black Friday deal, it's going on down there at the bottom as a little ticker tape. All that's left for us to do is to do the awkward wave, I believe.
And also,
Cheerio.
the Cloudways deals are amazing. Just want to say.
They are amazing.
But, yeah.
We'll do that during the awkward wave. What we could do is we could have this really long conversation and make everybody wave. Oh, actually, what's that tattoo whilst we're at it?
There you go. So if
Oh,
anybody
you got a
also
tattoo on
has
both sides.
if anybody
that's
has
wicked.
a trick for me to not have the reflection of my screen on my glasses,
Just
also
take
write
your
in the
glasses
comments.
off. Right, I should probably press all.
I can't see
let me
mine.
know in the comments.
I can't see.
Take your glasses off and they'll be like that the whole.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna hit end in 3, 2. This is the longest.